You know, what you said about the difference between an entrepreneur and someone who's working as an employee for years in the same company, it's like two very different way of thinking, and it collides, and they need each other. The entrepreneurs need the bigger companies to try out their ideas and to see if it's working within their company sometimes. And the companies, as we said, they do need to innovate. Sometimes it's really hard for them to do it from within because they try things and now they don't believe, and they have another thing, like major position and role there, and they don't have time to do it all. And still the collaboration is, although it's needed, is really hard, and it needs to even sometimes to be facilitated, I guess, to really make it happen.
So this is exactly, and this is really, first of all, our main role in our group here in Israel, and we have a similar group to the one here, also in the Silicon Valley. The main role is to create, I mean, I call it dancing with the elephants. You know, the startup, which is like a small mouse or a small rat, wants to create a dance together with this huge company. We don't speak the same language. We don't have the same values because the startup by nature is willing to risk much more because startup entrepreneurs risk the most important asset they have, time. So they invest 2, 3, 4 years of their lives in a startup, which is something that doesn't come back. You know, money goes and money comes, but life keeps going.
Yeah.
So and the company executive, all he has to invest is a certain level of risk and attention. So when you get those meetings between those two entities, you have to create a lot of translation, not only German to English, but also culture to culture, or German to Israeli, so to speak, but also culture to culture in terms of startup vis-a-vis large corporates. And this is really the biggest challenge. And
Yeah.
I think the way to do it, I mean, what we're doing is called in your language, in the innovation people language, open innovation, which means you're trying to connect your operating business, be it automotive, utility, oil companies, and in Israel, as you know, there are tens or maybe hundreds of large companies not only doing R&D but also doing what we call scouting or open innovation. Some of them with teams, some of them with labs, some of them with whatever ways to create this dialogue between startups with very disruptive thinking and our own company with its own sequential and conservative, relatively conservative thinking. And this is
Yeah.
really where this meeting point is where the biggest challenge is.
Yeah. I want to show again, Gary Nankos said the most innovative is already among
Right.
us, stick the young and bright. So people are very innovative and curious about what's going to happen. And we just need to find these people that are
Yeah.
really willing to take the risk. And they're even eager to take the risk and to try a new thing. and
Yeah.
and sometimes even the same people, if you go and they're going to be an employee for 5 or 10 years within the company, these qualities will disappear in a sense, or maybe be lower, because what they are demanded to do and what is their role is not being curious, innovative, disruptive, changing the status quo, so forth, and
Yeah.
therefore they need it from the outside.
Yeah. And I agree to the comments, seek the young and bright, because even if they are within a corporate, many times the young people, the ones who are more dynamic and more intensive and not yet in the groove, so to speak, are the ones who are willing to take risk, because also they have less to risk, because after you work 15 years with a company and you have a certain level of seniority, a certain level of whatever pension and other rights, you are bigger risk. You're taking a bigger risk if you make a big mistake. If you're still young and you're coming young into the company, then you are more open to take risks, but you have less power in the company. So the balance is not working in the right direction, because the more senior you are, the more power you have, or the more influence. Maybe the word power is not good enough, but influence. Um, so yeah, seek the young and brightest is the good comment, but it has its challenges.
So
So
let's say these people from within or from an outside open innovation come and meet these managers. So these managers in a corporate, what are they dealing with? What they face? What are the difficulties they need to face when they are meeting innovation? What are their mental challenges, or what do they need to do in order to make it happen?
it's an interesting question because we are trying to locate within the company those specific people who are open to it. I mean, regardless of age or seniority, you find people who are more inclined to listen, to get excited about something innovative, and there are those who see it as a disruption and interference to their life and to their routine. So the secret is to look for the right people in the company. And I'm talking to colleagues who are doing this in other companies in Israel. As I said, there are many of those: automotive, energy, computing, cloud computing, anything. And we all say the same thing. We need to find the right stakeholder in the large company who is willing to embrace, or at least to support initially, something new, to give it a chance. I mean, we never bring something in and that's it. We always do a proof of concept first. We try it out with the business, and if it works, maybe not on a production system, on an offline system, and only then we put it in production. But it's really to find the right people, and it's something maybe you inherit or you grow up with. I mean, it's not something. It could be acquired to a certain extent, but only up to a certain level. I think that if you have it, you have it, and then we find the right people, we can work with them and increase it. And if you
Yeah.
don't have it, if you are very conservative, or if you're innovation resistant, it's almost impossible to change you.
Yeah,
And,
but it means that what we're talking about is not in your title. So it doesn't mean that if it's written in your title that this is what you do, like an innovation manager, it doesn't really mean that you're exactly innovative. Sometimes it's someone who's from a head of department somewhere, and he's the right person to talk to. So your work
absolutely.
is kind of challenging to find these people because it's not written on LinkedIn. We're open-minded, right?
No, it's not. And even if it's written, it's not necessarily that it's true. I mean, you really have to interact with the person. I mean, we had many experiences where we brought people to Israel, and Israel has a certain toxic influence on people, because if you bring them over here and you take them around some startups and you show them the ecosystem, as we call it, which means they talk to a couple of venture capitalists and they talk to a couple or more of startups, and they walk around Rothschild Boulevard just to get the vibe, and they get this mysterious atmosphere that, wow, things are happening here. It's really something else. I feel the energy. I heard it from many people who came over, and then they start to be more curious. And once they're becoming more curious, there's this slow process of being able to adopt more and more innovation. So it's really a change that you can create. And yeah, if management is smart, then they appoint the innovation managers, as they call them. They give it to the right people, to people who are keen to solve and to find innovative solutions.
Yeah, and
I
they
don't
are
know if you
able
want